Welcome to the Sisterhood Collective podcast, where we empower women to break barriers, overcome limiting beliefs, and achieve true success. I'm your host, Laurie Drummond, entrepreneur and founder of 5 successful businesses. Join me as I share proven strategies, interview inspirational leaders, and provide behind-the-scenes insights to help you level up in your business, career, and in life. Because together, we can get further faster. Okay, let's dive in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sisterhood Collective podcast. I'm Samantha Jackson, and today I'm really thrilled to be your guest host. And joining me as my guest is the incredible Laurie Drummond, the visionary and founder behind this podcast and the inspiring Sisterhood Collective. So welcome, Loz.
Wow, that's a beautiful introduction. Thanks, Sam. This is so cool. I love the fact that you're taking control of the podcast today. And it's so funny because I still get nervous, even when I have podcasts. When I do it myself, obviously no nerves. But as soon as I have a guest that I'm interviewing, or even right now, like you're interviewing me, I still get that little nervous, the fear, which is good feelings. But yeah, it's funny. So yeah, crack on, girlfriend. I'm excited.
Yes, it's a good opportunity for you to feel what it's like sitting on the other side of the table. And for us also to learn more about you. I know we've heard a little bit through snippets of podcasts, and if you're fortunate enough to be involved already in the Sisterhood Collective, but this hopefully is a new opportunity, a new experience for us to learn a little bit more about you and some insights and your journey so far and some of the challenges you've experienced. I'm really looking forward to learning what you have to say, and I'm sure what you have to say will really inspire all the women out there that are listening, and to help people boost their confidence and build these successful lives that we aim to achieve. So before we dive into business, let's start with something a little bit light. And Loza, can you share a fun fact about yourself? Maybe something that you don't think anybody knows about to now.
Am I fun? That's the first question. Do you know what? Actually, going deep already, because that's just how I roll. You know what? I feel like I used to be super fun, and I feel like the fun's kind of been like I've lost it along the way a little bit. Like since I've started business, when I first started business, no problem. But then as I started to take on more and more business and I became a little bit more ambitious, I feel like my focus shifted a little bit to thrive and succeed and learn and grow and all those good things. And I stopped doing some of the things that were fun, and maybe my sense of humor, I guess, waned just that little bit. And I catch myself now, and it's something I actually have to focus on. It's like, because I am still ambitious and I'm proud of that. It's who I am, and I like that part of myself. But I also am like, damn girl, you used to be super fun and you're like the life of the party sometimes, or you've got jokes and you can talk to anyone. And then now sometimes I find myself, I'm not even present in the moment. And if I'm at a party or at a dinner, or, I'm out there doing something and my mind just tickles off to somewhere else anyway, so that's something I'm really conscious of now, is to try to have a little bit more fun. But here's something that is going on right now. I am not particularly a fan of cats, never have been. I'm literally a dog person. And now that I'm in the UAE, I have found myself, and do you know what? It's since getting Lulu. So she's 7 now. So it's the past 7 years. But now that I'm in the UAE, there is so many stray cats. And I'm known now as a bit of a cat lady, which is kind of embarrassing. Because I carry cat food with me everywhere I go, whether it's, big bags of kibble or, whether it's, those little treats and things. Anyway, when I first moved into the villa here, it must have been like day 2 or 3. I've got no furniture in the house. It's literally me and, one bed. And I pull up in the driveway and I'm like, are you kidding me? And they're sitting on the step is 2 stray cats. And to this day, it's like we're only 2 months in at this point, but I've got my feeders out the front where, the kibble just keeps coming out in the water filter. And then I've got 2 or 3 cats that are there for breakfast and dinner every single night. And I think there's about 6 cats that come around. And what's worse is, like, a neighbor lost their cat recently and someone said, oh, go to Villa such and such a number. She's really good with the cats and knows things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm now known as the cat lady in, the estate that I live in as well. So I don't know if that's fun, but that's a very random fact that probably not many people know. And I'm still not even a cat person. I'm definitely a dog person. But anyway, I just can't help it. They're so cute and innocent, and they didn't choose to be homeless. So a little bit of food.
Very sweet. And they're just trying to survive like we all are.
And, they just want some love, poor little things.
Well, that is a very interesting fact. And I know that you're a dog person with Lulu, so I would never before now have thought that you would be doing this, feeding all the stray cats. So it's nice to hear, though. We can all change, can't we, as we go through life?
And it's just another way of like giving back. When you ask people, one of the things we do in the sisterhood is we evaluate, where we are. And one of those components of life is, giving back to the community. And I often find like when we think about giving back, we're thinking about, I don't know, whether it's donations or volunteering. And there are just so many ways to give back. And, me feeding the cats for me is one way of doing it. Sponsoring a child in Australia is another thing that I do. That is my way of giving back. And then, going and doing free speeches to motivate people or inspire or just tell my story. There's just so many different ways of doing it. But that's something that's important to me, is giving back. And I mean, it's literally how the sisterhood started in the first place, right?
While we're on that topic, it'd be really interesting to hear what inspired you to start the Sisterhood Collective and focus really on empowering women.
You know what? When I was kind of going through, let's go back a little bit further. At school, I was picked on a little bit. I think we all go through that. We go through this bullying phase. And I remember I was still in primary school and a bunch of girls are just so mean, would pick on me. And I didn't really connect with anybody. And we traveled a lot because of Dad's work. So I did change schools a fair bit. But we're in Victoria and these girls were just mean. And it got to the point where my parents had to intervene. And they went to the school and spoke to the teacher and he just said, you know what, let's get Laurie into netball. That's what those girls all do. So maybe doing a team sport together will help them connect, blah, blah, blah. And the rest was history. We all became best friends and things like that. But there was this constant, ganging up on the other person. So like, say there's 4 of us, 3 of us, whoever the ringleader was has decided they don't like Sam today. So next minute, everyone's not talking to Sam, but we've got no reason. And I think that's quite a common thing that happens. I'm not sure why. You probably know more about that being the psychologist. But anyway, and that also transferred over into my early days into the military because we lived in condos and there were 4 women. And the same thing happened. There was this one girl that she would just turn us against each other. And for a couple of months, we weren't talking to one girl and then the next girl. And, when I really became aware of what was going on, obviously I didn't like it. And it was I was a little bit older once I looked back and realized that this was going on. So what ended up happening because of all of this was that I actually formed better relationships with men. And I had a lot more male friends than I did women, just for the fact that I felt like I could talk to them and they weren't going to turn on me. Anyway, fast forward, it wasn't really until I was working in Iraq and there was the Australian ambassador became a woman. So it started off as a man. Then they did a rotation. A lady, Lyndall, came into Iraq, into Baghdad, and she was the ambassador and I was an advisor to her. And she was the first female figure, I suppose, that respected what I said, listened to everything, would ring me up for advice, obviously to do with, threat and security, and really helped me realize that what I do is important and that I can be anything. I guess she was a bit of a mentor in a sense, because prior to that, you might have felt this too, having been ex-military, that we are kind of pegged against each other as women back in our day, purely because we just wanted to be seen and noticed for the good work that we were doing. And there wasn't as many opportunities for women, I found. So we were constantly fighting for that pole position almost, rather than working together. And then obviously I went to Iraq, and then Lyndall is the one that kind of, I guess I realized her being an ambassador, I looked up to her, and because she was so respectful of everybody and supported me also just as a female, not special treatment, it was probably just, it's normal behavior actually, but it's the first time that I felt it. that was probably the pivotal moment for me where I realized women can be nice to each other, and that, you know, I want to have female friends. So anyway, we fast forward a little bit longer, further forward, sorry. And then it was during the COVID lockdowns. Everyone's isolated. We're all a little bit lonely. We're all longing for this connection. And as soon as, what were they? The lifts, the lockdowns.
Oh, yeah.
The lockdown stopped in Brisbane, I was like, oh, that's it. I'm getting all the girls around and I want to get social again. And I got a bunch of friends over. Now, so my friendship groups are from different areas of my life. It's been through volleyball, through the military, through the gym, owning the gym, through doing, you know, private security overseas. And, you know, they're from all different spaces. And so generally when I catch up with people, I catch up with everyone separately. And so in this particular occasion, I kind of brought a bunch of women together that hadn't necessarily met each other, and all in a similar age group. And I did, you know, some sort of fancy party, lots of good food, flowing champagne. Anyway, and through that night, everyone started talking, and I did a second one as well. And what I started to realize was that we're all going through similar issues. I mean, this is common sense. We actually all know this, but for me, it was a moment where I became aware of it. We're all going through similar issues, and we can all help each other because some of us have already walked those steps and can share, you know, share the resources, share the knowledge, share the lessons, I suppose. And that's what I noticed. And it was from there that I was like, you know what? I love going to some of these women empowerment events, the networking events and things where we support each other. And I don't want to be one of these women that puts other women down. I want to be one of these women that supports another woman and puts her on a pedestal and is proud of her, doesn't compete with her, because I believe there is enough space for us all. And that's when I just had this vision of the sisterhood, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted. I've gone through so many different iterations on, you know, what space we fit in. But yeah, just kind of, it morphed from there. And that's when I reached out to Tegan and Lauren and asked them if they wanted to come along and help me create something special. And that's where we started. And that's kind of how it all began, was to bring women together and lean on each other.
And it's such a worthwhile experience for me, having been a bit of a part of that along the way as well, and to see some of the changes that you're really making in people's lives. So congratulations so far.
Thank you. Do you know what? It's funny because when you speak, and sometimes people think, you know, all this women empowerment stuff, oh, it's a little bit wishy-washy and, you know, rah-rah. But what I found when we have these conversations, you know, whether it's with you or whether it's with Lauren, my mum, or just, you know, someone I meet on the street, I feel so amazing afterwards.
Yeah.
When you're actually motivating each other through conversation without even realizing it. I guess you could walk into the conversation maybe even feeling a little bit flat yourself, but as soon as you start talking, you suddenly start to pep up that little bit and you do feel motivated. And you walk away, you know, I can't say 6 foot tall because that will never happen in my time, but I'm at least half an inch taller and I feel amazing. And what I've noticed is, because I talk quite positively as much as I can, I've even noticed the changes, like in Lauren. I've seen her change over the last, you know, she went through a big life-changing event, moved back to Australia, and I've seen all the amazing and positive changes and growth that she's had. But even more so, my mum. My mum's a bit different to me in that she's a lot quieter. She's never, you know, wanted to be in the limelight or anything like that. She's a lot more reserved. And what I'm seeing now, like even in the Sisterhood lounge room, you know, she's actually writing comments to people and saying, oh, you know, hey, Sam, welcome to the group. I'm looking forward to learning more about you and things, and has the confidence to do that. 3 years ago, there is no way she would have even thought about it. And when I asked her to start doing it about 12 months ago, she slowly sort of edged forward. And then like literally this morning, I saw this comment. I'm like, Mum, I'm so proud of you. But that's by being around this positivity. And, you know, even if it's my mum or if it's reaching your mum or if it's reaching a girlfriend, that for me, if we can inspire someone to feel better, make a small change, you know, do something for themselves, that to me is worth it.
Well, you are connecting with my mum. She was so thrilled with all the podcasts. I think he wrote to me and said, oh, I love Laurie's podcast. I want to send her a message and congratulate her. So you're definitely making a difference, not just to the moms out there, but I think to many women. And you should be really proud of that.
Isn't it nice? Because when you can create a space like that, Sam, you you are approachable. And so then you get this little message from someone maybe that hasn't heard, or spoken to you. They might have been in your life 20 years ago, or it's a friend's mum or a friend's friend. And they're like, oh, I've heard of you guys. Oh, I've got, and they write you this little message. And then we always respond, obviously. And for me, firstly, I mean, I love getting any sort of feedback or a reach out, but then you respond and you literally light up their world because you've taken the time to do it. But I mean, I was brought up that that's how you respond. You would respond anyway, and it's human nature to do. But literally, that's what we're doing. We're trying to connect women, and we all have bad days, including myself. And I've worked out for me, one of my, I guess, go-tos, if I'm feeling crappy or lonely, or I've talked myself out of something, whatever it is, I phone a friend. It's that old chestnut of reaching out to one of my people. It literally lifts up my whole spirits. Just even if we don't even talk about my problem, we just talk in general, I feel so good and happy. It fills my cup again.
Yeah, it's that connection. And as humans, we yearn for that connection, I think, for most of us. And there is, I don't know the research or the saying exactly, but they do say something on the lines of who we become is influenced so greatly by the people that we surround ourselves with the closest, something on those lines.
Yeah.
And you can see that. It's wonderful to see that coming out in some of the people that you're connecting with through the sisterhood.
And don't you think too, like, when you meet someone in person, like if I was going to a networking event, which I've done, which, there's been these events that I go to and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. I don't know anybody. And I'm little Nigel, no friends, standing in the corner going, oh, these little mini quiches look good. I'm like, oh, hey, mum, text. How are you? And that was my first experience. And then the next time I went back, it was the same place, a few familiar faces, but I was like, hi, ladies, I don't really know anyone. I came alone. Do you mind if I stand with you? And they're like, yes, of course. And then the conversation just starts to go, and, you do all that. And that's great if you can have the courage to go to those things, because that's the hard part. So we're primarily online. And what I like about that is that the people that, and it's not courage necessarily to go to the events, so sometimes you don't even have the opportunity because of, time and responsibilities. But there's this space now where we can connect online. And when we're behind some sort of electronic device, sometimes people are more confident and feel a little bit safer to maybe just edge their way into the conversation, or, they track it for a little bit and then they make a comment. And I think that that's nice, because that's, as you say, that's where the connection starts to happen, which wouldn't have necessarily happened if it was a live in-person event, because they couldn't get there for whatever reason. Confidence or time or responsibilities and stuff. So I kind of like that we've created that little safe space there for that reason. And I love seeing new faces and new people that, when you start something like this, it's your friends, it's your mum, firstly, and then your friends that all start to support you. And now we're seeing with the sisterhood too, we're reaching people we don't know. And I love that as well, that we have been able to reach, so far and get new faces and new people involved.
Yeah, and so you can see the value of that support network in the product that's coming about there, and the actual network that's developing as well. So for other forms of network building, what do you recommend? How else can people build their network and expand it?
I think it really depends for what's your purpose and what's your why. What are you wanting to build a network for? Is it for friendship? Is it for business purposes? Is it for personal growth purposes? And I think that really matters. So if it was more just to make friends, and having you and I both moved to new countries, it is lonely, definitely. So, and we're older. It's not like we're going to university every single day, so we're exposed to people. Like I work from home primarily, and I live in a house, so I'm not even in an apartment where I meet more and more people. So how do I get that exposure for friendship? And, well, you said you've joined a dog club with the new puppy, right? And that's one way of meeting. And you've done dance classes. I mean, I haven't gone quite there yet. I haven't got to the dance classes, although I do need to shake a booty or two, that's for sure. But you know what? Even just going to the gym, like I own a couple of gyms here, and I can go there and that's fine and meet people that way, but that costs money. But here as well, there's the free gyms, because they exist everywhere here. If you're, in an apartment or in my estate type place, and even in the gym, I remember the first 3 days that I went and I saw the same lady, and on day 3, we kind of passed each other and we connected, and she was actually from Venezuela. And I was like, oh, this is so cool, because obviously I'm in a place where there's so many people from different countries here. So, but you never know what you're going to, or who you're going to be speaking to. And, the lady next door is from Poland, and the other guys are from Northern Ireland. And, it's really quite exciting meeting people, but you have to go to places to meet. And here, it's, for me, walking Lulu around is how I speak to people, going to the gym and saying yes to people that invite me somewhere is the other part. And you know what, actually, more recently, I know we don't always want to do things online, but if my hairdresser, would you believe, she actually recommended a group for dogs where you take the dogs out on the boats and they go to a little island, and the dogs get to run free. And so Lulu and I are going to do that next weekend. And that's just another way of meeting other people that are most likely a little bit like-minded, because you've got something in common already. So that's from the friendship aspect. And when it's business, or personal growth, I mean, the sisterhood is a perfect example of personal growth. You even start saying the word personal growth, and your phone is listening, your computer is listening, and next minute, both you and I are going to be, maybe searching the internet, and we're going to have ads for courses on personal growth. Like, they are everywhere. And the good thing is you don't have to pay. It's free everywhere, but you can pay as well if you find something trustworthy and something you want to be a part of. But there's also so many free resources out there for your own personal growth, and courses and mentorships and things like that. And then the business aspect, I think you need to go to events, sometimes networking events, sometimes, summits and things that are on. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. So you want to go somewhere where you are going to learn something from someone else. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're not going to scale up or level up or grow your business, and you're certainly not going to get the right networking pieces that you want either. So I think that's key in recognizing. So it comes back to your why. What are you wanting to network for?
But all of those things are fantastic, but they also take so much courage. And, I think naturally you have that trait, not to say you never have any fear, but, right from a young age, you were saying you jumped into the hornet's nest by playing netball with the bullies at school. Well, that takes a lot of courage when you're a child or when you're an adult.
Not when your father makes you, but yeah. Yes. 100%.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? And what kind of barriers do you think other women are facing to stop them from doing these things or holding them back?
I think a really good method or strategy is the old find a friend, do something with a friend. So if it's a gym, you find someone. Here's another thing. Like, I know a lot of this, if you're afraid or something's holding you back from doing something in person, I think start online. Because you know what I signed up to the other day?
What?
An over 40s, not that I'm that old, of course, wink, wink, over 40s female travel group.
Yeah.
And then I forwarded it to Mum and said, Mum, jump on this bad boy. Anyway, she did. And as I said, very proud of her right now. Confidence seems to be oozing out of her. She went and did a post on there. Hi, I'm Sharon, blah, blah, blah. I'm single. My daughter told me I should jump on here and find like-minded women that hopefully I can meet up with or travel. And and then she got all these responses, which is perfect for her because that builds her confidence. And to the point where, and someone's like, oh, we do these luxury Tuscany tours for women and they're small group and blah, blah. And I said, Mum, that looks like a good one. Maybe when you come over here and visit me, that's something you could do. She's like, oh, maybe. And see, this is huge growth just for my mum. So it just makes me super chuffed and proud. But I'm like, that's taken a lot of time. But by doing it online, will eventually build your confidence to do something in person. But the first strategy is definitely, I feel like, is having a friend or doing something one-on-one. So if it's mentoring, it would be one-on-one. If it's personal training, till you get to a point where you've got the confidence that you know the lingo of, the type of movements that you're doing in the gym and you've shown stuff, then you could join classes and things like that. Like once you start something, you start to build the confidence to do it.
They sound like great tips. And once you get the momentum, they can really help you connect and get started. In your experience, what kind of limiting beliefs do you think are holding people back from even taking that first step? What kind of limiting beliefs have you felt that women you've worked with or people or yourself have held you back?
It's self-esteem and confidence. Like, so if it's in the fitness space, it's not feeling good in their own skin. And that could be because, I've hit the 40s now and I'm 3 or 4 kilos a bit, over, and I'm a bit soft. My body's a bit soft. It never used to be, but then you've had kids or not had kids, but, hormones have just changed your body and all these things. And so you lose the confidence to even step outside and be seen, just purely from an aesthetics perspective. And that's mental. It all starts with the mindset, right? So that's in the gym space. I feel like it's being confident in your own skin. And so that's in the fitness space. And when it comes to business, it's feeling like even a mentoring group that I signed up to recently. Now I've got several businesses and I've been in business for years, and I've been a mentor for over 6 years now, business mentor. And even when I join these groups and I'm asked to, say my pitch, do a pitch of some sort, do I get nervous? Yeah, the answer is yes. But the fear that I have is that what I'm saying is incorrect. It's not right. It's not selling anything. It's not good enough. Are people going to laugh that I, am even talking about a women's empowerment and roll their eyes and going, oh, she's one of those? Or, there's all those fears that you create yourself in any situation whatsoever. And I think it's all about, the issue is that we project an outcome that doesn't exist. So we're assuming something's going to happen. Why are we even bothering with that? Because it doesn't exist. That outcome of someone thinking that you're silly or that you're not good enough or that you're overweight and you can't do a squat properly or whatever, we're assuming people are judging us on that straight away, which is so not true. Because you're at the gym, people are worried about their own movements, trying to put their heart back into their chest because their lungs are on the floor and all sorts of things, right? No one cares what you're doing or what you look like. They're nervous themselves. And even when I go to my gym here, it's a group class style, and I don't really know too many people there. No one really knows. There's a couple of people that know each other and are friends, but there's a lot of single people that are just there and they're all nervous. You can see everyone's a little bit nervous and shy, so there's not too much eye contact and all that. So maybe reframe the story a little bit. And again, it comes back to, what's your why for actually wanting to go to the gym? Is it to connect? If it's to connect, say hi. If it's to get fitter, then just worry about showing up. Because 2 minutes into it, you're going to forget about what you look like and the fact that you're hanging out. You can hardly get off the floor.
Yeah, that's right. And if you say hello to someone and they don't respond or they're rude, then what's the worst that can happen?
Well, again, it's their story. And I always have to say that, like, they might not have heard you. They might be off with the fairies because something tragic has just happened and they've come here to get their mind off things. They could have something blow up at work, their kid's sick or something at home. They're worried if they're going to get home in time because of this and that. Like, there is always another narrative. So you can't assume what someone's narrative is, and you can't judge them for it.
And you can't think it relates to you always, that everything.
It actually never does. If someone even says a nasty comment at you, like on the socials, or it's because of something that's happened to them. It's generally not about you. They're just taking it out on you because they've got that negative mindset and that negative outlook, and all they're seeing is negative, and all they're seeing is, I'm down in the dumps and everyone, the whole world is against me, and whatever you've just said, oh, well, that was offensive to them, but you probably weren't even talking to them. They just overheard it, or, anything like that. So, and I'm trying to get better at this myself, in that if I've done something that could be questionable, which doesn't happen too often, of course, to somebody else, it's like, well, hang on, that's for them to worry about. I can't worry about what their worries are. I can only worry about myself, and myself doesn't want to take on worry at all. Myself just wants to live. and, do the best I can and grow and just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, you're very clear on your directions and what's important.
Yeah, don't you think? Like we project so much and we're so worried about what other people think. It's like you're creating a world that doesn't exist. And then there's all this energy and stress and wasted time thinking about what will never happen and what won't be.
Absolutely. We are all very important individually, but we're not as important as we think we are. We don't have as great an influence usually on the people around us. They're not doing things in response necessarily to us or to hurt us or to just exactly as you said before. Sometimes they've got their own things going, often, not even sometimes, they've all got their own things going on in their lives. And an interaction with us isn't reflective of us necessarily.
And just because you've crossed paths, it doesn't mean that you've got the same values, the same goals, the same dreams. So I just kind of feel like something I heard recently and I really quite liked it was just remain humble. Like I can say, yeah, I've been a business mentor for 6 years and I own all these businesses and rah, rah, rah. I'm learning on a daily basis, and how I ran business 5 years ago or even 10 years ago or even yesterday is not the same today. And did I do things right? No. Did I do anything right? Not much, but I did at the time. That was right at the time. And everything I've learned from that has got me to where I am today. And I love learning. I learn something every single day, but I truly believe being humble, but not only in business, being in the real world.
Yeah, they're great lessons, Losna. Really, really great lessons, I think, that we can all take something away from. And so you've touched on your business. You've had a few businesses. I know you've spoken about those on and off. But in this kind of comprehensive interview that we're doing here, can you share a little bit about your journey, your forays into the business world? And I guess how you started, where you got to where you are now, how you got there, and maybe some of the key moments that have shaped your career. We've talked about a couple, but it'd be great to hear some of the main ones for you.
Yeah, do you know what? So when I started business, it was purely through passion. And, my first business was, wow, here's a fun fact. If we go back a little bit, I think I must have been about 5, so just a few years ago, darling, if we can remember that far back when it was black and white. And we used to go back to those, not garage sale, what are they, flea market type things. Back then, this is back in the olden days, people, you remember cigarette packets used to have the plastic around them?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I used to take I didn't smoke, obviously, at 5 years old, but I used to collect the plastic packets, the base of a cigarette packet anyway. It's just a little plastic and it looks like a little box and it's tiny. And then I'd cut out a little piece of paper and I'd color it in and make a little strip and I'd glue it so I could create a little basket. Like it literally was a plastic basket that would hold nothing. And when I went to these little flea markets, I would sell them for like 10 cents and 20 cents and things like that. And that was kind of like my first, I guess, version of learning how to create money. And then when I was about 7 or 8, gosh, we're going back in time here. Gosh, I love it. And, you know me for a good 20 years probably. So sometimes I like to perform a little bit. Not so much these days. I get the fear, but back then, no fear. And I used to dance and sing and think I was Madonna or Cyndi Lauper or something like that. So I had some friends that lived in the street. And so when the girlfriends would come over, we'd choreograph some sort of dance routine. And then when my parents had friends over, I'd say, you guys stay in the lounge room and when we're ready, you can come out. And they used to have to pay 50 cents or $1 or something to watch our routine. And we'd put on this big fandangle routine where we'd sing songs and dance and, do all these little tricks on the trampoline and things like that. And that's how we made money to buy things. So that's a few of my successful businesses.
They were the first businesses. They gave you the confidence to step up.
Yeah. And then from there, I joined the army and things like that. I then went into... When I got out of the army, I was in this space, Sam, where I was always told what to do, right? My parents told me what to do, were fairly strict. Then I joined the army, you're told what to do, everything, when to breathe, when not to breathe, all sorts of things. And when I got out, I felt this sense of, this freedom of like, I actually get to make my own choices. And that's when I actually developed my own values. And obviously values stem from your influences when you're a child. I would definitely have some of those still today, or most of them. But I created just some new behaviors and new thought processes. So that's kind of what allowed me to try new things. And the CrossFit gym was my first big girl business, when I was fully grown. And that was through passion. It's like, I want to try something that gives back to people. And, I was always quite fit when I was younger, and people used to come to me for advice on how to, pass the fitness tests and things. And I just loved that. I loved seeing people achieve, something from a fitness space. I mean, it was quite rewarding for me. And anyway, so I went into it, and it was a passion project, and it went really, really well. But then I left. And then when I left the gym, because I moved overseas, the gym was still going. But the reason the gym was doing so well while I was there was because I was running it, and I had all this passion and this energy. And when I left, I didn't have any processes and systems. And so I, reached out to a mentor company, which happened to be Two Brain, who I actually mentor for now. And they literally turned my life around and my knowledge of business. And then I found that I just really loved business. I loved how processes and systems and a vision, you can create a pathway and make something that you love successful. And that's kind of how it started for me. And then from then I drank the Kool-Aid. I wanted more. I get bored quite fast, when things become slow, and there is nothing wrong with enjoying the moment, but I don't last, like I move at a very, very fast pace. So I don't really sit around. So I started to just grow from there. I started another business with some partners, which no longer exists. And then what I do after that, then I did the coffee shop. That I thought, it was after COVID or during COVID. I was like, I've got a bunch of money. I'm a little bit bored. I love coffee. I want a hobby. And I made another hobby and a passion into a business. And then I moved, got some opportunities over here in the UAE. And this is now me leveling up in business and learning, a whole different space of business and, how to invest and all those sorts of things. And I've always invested money. And you know what? I learned that in the army. I don't know if you remember, we used to have to go to these CO hours every month or quarter. And we went to this, it's like a little seminar. And they brought in a stock market guy.
For those non-military people?
The commanding officer of your unit in the military, yeah. So I went and I learned all about the stock market, and that's when I started to invest in shares and things like that. And obviously I didn't do too well. I played it quite safe. And then I got a little bit more risque. And then from then I've started to diversify my portfolio and investments. I've been in property, crypto, shares, businesses, startups, and there's still so much to learn. Like I feel like I am like in the corner of the world, and I've still got so much to learn, which I want to still do. And so I feel like when you get into that business space, you start speaking about your business and you meet other business owners. And if you've managed to find some successful business owners, it drives you to be better and to get exposure to new things. And I think that's how I diversified, is because I kept getting more and more exposure to different things.
It sounds like you've developed and used all of your experience to so well. But for those people that are probably still starting out a little bit more or finding their way, if you've got maybe a couple of tips, maybe 3 key tips that you could provide to help people get on their way in this area?
Do you think, are you asking find a business idea or start a business or just investigate?
Maybe what are the top 3 tips that you can provide to help people either find their business idea or consolidate their business idea, or to raise it to the next level? And maybe they're difficult, they're really broad, but where could people start or help to try to elevate that part of themselves through all of your experience?
I mean, how long have you got? So to find a business idea, firstly, it's not finding a gap in the market so much. It's finding a solution to someone's problem. There are so many entrepreneurs in the world. The new generation, like, I don't know the statistics either, but I know there's a lot. There are so many entrepreneurs coming through. So firstly, it's having an idea, right? And an idea is going to come either through passion, and it doesn't have to be grand, and it doesn't have to be sexy. It can be literally anything, but it's solving a problem to something firstly. And so the way to work out what that is like, for me with the sisterhood, I sat at the table for like 3 hours and listened to women have similar problems and realized that the way I can solve this is by connecting them.
Yeah.
Because I know that A can talk to B can help D can help A. And I just realized that if I can create a network of women here that have completely different backgrounds, experience, and knowledge, that, you know, they can connect and support each other through and, you know, share lessons learned and stuff like that. So firstly, it's, finding that idea. But the other thing is, if you're playing it a little bit safer, it's something you want to do on the side of your everyday job, so that you've still got an income and some security there, and also to fund whatever it is you're doing. I think always start small, because you can build it. Like, all the businesses that I have had, and even now, we're expanding now, it's all cash for me. I've never got a loan for these businesses, which I'm kind of proud of. But at the same time, if you're an investor, like, people will say, why aren't you leveraging off the banks and rah, rah, rah? And you could do that. But that's another conversation with my finances and taxes and stuff like that. So I've paid for everything, you know, cash, I suppose. And I've started small to be able to grow these things. And then the other thing is, just start. If you've got an idea, start the investigation of it. Like, do the due diligence. I don't think you need to have the perfect business plan, because, you know, like I said, the sisterhood idea has completely changed to where I first thought, and, you know, started talking to the girls about, to where it is now, to where it potentially could be in the future. You know, when I launched Ultra, which is the first gym that I set up, Ultra CrossFit, I did this massive business plan. I hardly followed it. Like, it was good for me because I learned stuff, but even to the layout of the equipment, within 3 months, I'd changed it. And I think the easiest thing is to have a conversation, register your business, come up with the service that you like. There's free tools on all the government websites on starting businesses and things like that. And another way of doing it is, you know, grab a friend and collaborate. And I've had businesses by myself and businesses with people. And it's funny, when I first started, I only wanted to have a business by myself. And then I got some business partners that were terrible, like completely put me off business partners. And then so I opened more business by myself. And now I've got 2 other companies, both with partners, and I love them. I think doing something with someone else and supporting each other, and, you know, everyone having their clear roles within an organization is the best thing. You move further faster, and, you know, that comes down to the sisterhood. I believe in connecting with others and collaborating will get you further faster. Because when one's down, one's up, one can lead, one can sit back, one goes on holidays, one keeps going. You know, one's good at this, one's good at that. Now, I don't know if I've answered really any of your questions, because I've gone all over the shop there.
I think you've had some great tips there.
But you know what, Sam? The number one piece of advice for business would be get a mentor.
Yeah, okay.
Because, I fumbled my way through the first one and landed on my feet. And as I said, I left the company and it was profitable. And because I hadn't set up the right processes and systems, and I didn't have any sort of automations and things like that, it dropped 60% in revenue, which was not good. And I was putting money into the business to just keep it afloat and keep the jobs, because I just had a dream, I suppose. And when I came back and got a mentor, everything changed. Within 3 months, my revenue was up 32, I was profiting 32% within 3 months, just for implementing some basic things. And I think, that matters. And so why fumble your way through or have no idea when there's business mentors, free and obviously paid, and coaches out there that have walked the path before you, that can give you the first few, steps. They can give you the templates. They can give you the resources that you need, put you in the right direction, and more importantly, keep you on track. We could be heading north and the next minute we're going west, and it was like, well, didn't you want to go north? You're like, yeah, but I don't know how to get back there. No problem. And that's what your mentor does.
What's one of the greatest things you think a mentor can bring for somebody, an independent business operator?
Acceleration. They will accelerate you a hell of a lot faster because you don't have to make the mistakes.
Yeah. How do they do that?
Well, I think basically you're going to tell them what you want, what your why is, what you want, what you have, and where you want to get to, and they're going to tell you the first steps to get there. And then they're going to hold you accountable so that you hit the timelines. And so it's that accountability piece, but you're not there just for, accountability. You're there to keep people on track and say, well, have you thought about maybe trying it this way? Because to me, there's two differences between a coach and a mentor. A coach gives you the resources and just asks you some questions to make you think about things and come up with your own answers. And a mentor has walked the path before you. So they're going to tell you that, if you're doing something a little bit too crazy, or maybe your idea is crazy and they think, you know what, but you're in the right location, or it's the right time of the year, or your approach is, spot on. They're going to know what works and what doesn't work because they've done it before. They've been in that space. They've got the stats to back it up.
They can offer an independent perspective by the sounds of it.
Yeah. And the other part, yeah, Sam, you're right. You're not emotional. When it's not your business, you have this clarity that's like, you're doing that because you want to do it, like it's pulling on your heartstrings. But for your business to survive or to succeed or to grow or to do this, what's the actual answer? And they'll make you come up with the answer. You know the answer deep, but you just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Okay. And so that sounds like a great resource, a mentor. What other resources do you think have helped you, would you recommend for people to kickstart their entrepreneurial journey?
Find a muse. Find someone that you aspire to be like. Listen to their podcasts, read their books, reach out to them maybe. Like I remember reaching out. I knew I needed a mentor. I didn't necessarily have the money. So I reached out to a friend's husband who was super successful in business and just said, oh, I don't suppose you would, I'm looking for a bit of a business mentor, but really I just want to have a coffee and pick your brain. Because he goes, oh, I don't really know what you want me to do. I said, I just want someone to ask questions and bounce ideas off and ask you how you did this and what do you do in this situation? He goes, yeah, sure, no worries. And that's how I started. So it was free. I paid for coffee. That was nice of me. And, and then now I spend thousands of dollars per year on, upskilling myself through courses, through mentorship programs. I'm in some masterminds. I listen to lots of podcasts, and I read lots of books as well. But you know what? All of that's fantastic. It's so good soaking in all the information. And I'd like to think I'm a sponge, but I'm not even close to being a sponge. Something comes in, the next minute it's left my body. I can't retain anything. You have to take action. Someone once said to me, if you go to a summit, for example, or a seminar of sorts, and I think it was his mentor that had told him, this is one of my mentors, so it's been passed down. He used to go to an event and as soon as he got something that he was like, right, I need to action that in my business. He could be in that meeting for 30 minutes. And he could have paid $5,000 for 2 days. He walks out at the 30-minute mark and he's done. He goes, that's paid for itself. And then he goes and used to implement the action that he was just told to do. And I think that's the difference between success and, I don't want to say failing, but, moving faster versus maybe not moving as fast as you like or not getting the outcome that you wanted. And I think it's the difference between millionaires and billionaires and the rest of us. They action, or they have a team that makes those actions happen, but they don't think about it. They get it done straight away. It's that decisiveness and, not fearing trying something different. So my advice there is just do it.
Yeah.
Take a chance.
Let your limiting beliefs, self-beliefs about your value or what you can do or can't do hold you back from just getting in there and doing it.
I also ask myself the question these days, but having said that, Sam, 10 years ago, I didn't ask any of these questions. I didn't just do it. I didn't do anything. I've learned it along the way. But now I say to myself, what's the worst that can happen here? And not in just a throwaway question. I sit there and actually think about that. What is the worst that can happen? Yeah, okay, someone might not talk to you for a month, or, someone might disagree with your statement and, are they going to say something about it? Probably not. So I sit there and work through the problem just a little bit. I don't spend much time on it.
Yeah. So what part of self-reflection, what role do you think self-reflection has in you preparing to take action and making the right decisions?
It's key. It's absolutely key. Like, I teach people and I say you should reflect every week or something like that, and you should. I was about to say I don't think I do it as much, but I do. I do it every single week. It's all through the sisterhood. It's in the mastermind groups that I do once a week, whether it's Mondays, Fridays, or Sunday nights. Like, personally, I sit down and reflect on the week that's gone and the week that's coming and make a plan. So that's kind of reflection. I do my 3-month goals. I do my weekly goals, my monthly goals. That's personal. I do it in my masterminds. Every Monday, I do a meeting to talk about with a bunch of entrepreneurs, just to talk about problems and help each other work through things. In one of my groups, we do something where, what have you got planned for the week to hold each other accountable of moving the needle, forward. In another one of our groups, even on the sisterhood, every Saturday or Friday in the other group, it's what have you done that's been good for you this week? Because so we're in such a busy time right now. I literally have to sit here. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have done so much this week. But what was good? Well, you know what? Probably about 87 things was good. But I've got to sit there and really think about it. And then you go, well, but what's worth talking about? And it's really hard to see the simple things. Like, I had a chat with Sam. And yesterday I had a chat with this girl in the UK, and I said to her, you know what? Today's chat with you is literally the best part of my entire day. Now, if you didn't ask me that question, there's no way I would have remembered that or even written it down or something. So it could be the fact that, you maybe you don't get out every day, but you got outside for 5 minutes. Or, I remember when Lauren was going through a rough time. Sorry, Junior, but I'm sharing your story here. I'll have to get permission. And she's not the only one, by the way. There's plenty of young mums that have gone through this, and I've probably been there myself a little bit too, even not being a mum, where they're so busy in the mornings, or they've lost their mojo or whatever, but they don't even have time to have a shower. It's like, get up, you get going, you get the kids ready, you get them to school, you've come back, you're doing the washing, and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't even had a shower today. Now, that can't be good for you. But what if you just did have a shower that one day? That's a win. And we don't even recognize these things, or we don't sit there and go, I only did it once this week. You know what? I need to maybe try and do it twice next week. And that's a win, and that's a goal. And that's reflecting on, when I had that shower, or I dressed up and just met my girlfriend for coffee, I felt good.
Connecting with how it makes you feel. Those moments, being that mindful in those moments as well, and taking the moments to have a bit of fun, have a laugh, and they keep you going, don't they?
Yeah. And you can do it on any level, whether you're doing on a daily scale, or if you're doing it, bigger, like we're thinking annually, or, even quarterly or whatever, or business or personal. I think reflection's really important. We never recognize how far we've come. We just sit there and criticize ourselves like, I'm only here. That's right. You are here. But look at how far you've come and what you've done to get there. And oh my gosh, what a journey. And I think my key thing right now, Sam, is that firstly, I told you before, I want to be present more. But secondly, is that enjoy the journey. It is a journey. There's no point enjoying it when I'm 70. I want to enjoy it now while I'm still in my 20s. Mm. Wink, wink. Twice in my 20s. Yeah.
In the 20s though. I love being in my 40s. I, like you say, we've come a long way. I've changed a lot. I've learned a lot, and I am who I am today because of those experiences. And I know you are the same.
I mean, if we think back to when we were in Thailand together and the type of people we were then, shh, don't tell anyone. And then when we were remember when we were in France together and Italy?
Yeah.
And then even when we first reconnected again in Brisbane, 3 or 4 years ago, I mean, time's flying for us now. It could have been 4 years ago. Remember when you moved up to Brisbane?
Yeah.
You know, and where you were then and where you are now, it's so different. Like, we've changed and grown so much from then. In fact, sisterhood didn't even exist then. And, you know, like, should be pretty proud.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of memories, a lot of experiences, you know.
And I feel like later in our years, we really created a journey more. Like in the early stages, I think I often let the tide take me. And sometimes that's good. Definitely. Sometimes that's great just to go and not to be driving. But now I make critical decisions about, I spend the time to reflect, do I really want this? Is it really going to bring me happiness? Is it really going to take me where I want to go? Or is it just the easy option right now?
Don't you think we compare ourselves too much to other people? Like, I might be in an ambitious cycle right now, or I might be trying to grow or whatever, but it's okay. Like, so someone that's listening, you don't need to be me. You're not me. There's only one of me. Thank you, lucky stars. There's only one of me. So you don't need my life. You just need to create and focus on your life. And if your life right now is, you know, relaxing or enjoying the moment right now, or focusing specifically on children or your family, or maybe you're specifically focusing on career, or, you know, maybe you're off nomading or whatever, like, that's fantastic. And you should be proud of you being you, because you're not anybody else. You know, like, we all do it because social media these days, we have all this exposure, and we're so accessible to all the things that we don't have. And there's too much focus on what you don't have versus what you do have. And AI and technology is going to make it even, I think, worse, you know, with what it can generate, and at the speed at which it's generating so much fakeness, of which real life people we can't compete with stuff like that.
So we need to touch back with what we can control, like what we spoke about earlier. What can we control in our lives, and reflecting back on our own goals, what's important to us, where do we really want to go, what genuinely brings us happiness, what is worth the most, and staying connected with that. And that's where the networks you've been talking about before can really help keep you connected with your true self, as long as you don't let them drive you in a direction where you feel like you're trying to catch up.
You know what? I watched a documentary the other day, and I think I heard of this on a podcast recently as well, is that there was a bunch of wealthy retired folk. So they were older, but they're retired folk, multi-millionaires, all these sorts of things, super successful, rah, rah, rah. So that was the documentary. I think it's Generational Wealth, it's called, on something. And then I also listened to it in a podcast with a few people that are super successful, older. And they said, you know what? I wish... So they're reflecting here and giving us the lessons that they, you know, this is something we need to recognize, because they're telling us the lessons that they've learned. Money is great, sure. But if you've got no one to share it with at the end, and not only that, if you don't have anyone to share it with at the end, what's the point? But not only that, I've wasted 40 odd years plus. My wife was right there, or my husband, and I didn't even see them or do anything. I can't even tell you what we did for my 40th birthday or 50th birthday, or, you know, what we did in France, because I was tied to my phone and I was doing whatever. And I remember one of the guys, he cries, and he's a tough kind of guy, and he cries because he's like, she said, I don't want to go out on the super yacht or whatever. She says, I just want you to put your phone away for the day, and that's all I need. And, you know, now it breaks his heart that she... You know, that's all she wanted, and he wasn't giving her such a simple pleasure. Anyway, so those little things have been really big takeaways from me. And I think, I can't remember who it was a podcast I listened to about 2 years ago, which is where I've become aware that, you know, when you asked me right at the start, what do you do for fun? I'm like, you know what, I need to, you know, bring more fun into my life and say yes to fun things, and, you know, say that it's okay not to work for a Saturday or 3 hours on a Friday or whatever. So
it's the worst that could happen, you know, being in the moment, really being in that moment. Well, I think that was a really lovely point to end our discussion on. We could keep going. There's so many more questions I actually had about future goals and the landscape of of women's business, but I feel like we've really ended on a really meaningful point, about having goals and connecting, but also being here in the moment. And that's what really is important for us. So it's really finding that balance, isn't it, in life? And we can drive and strive, but where are we really? So I think that's a great point to end on.
Sam, you and I could talk underwater in a bed of cement for about 6 years, I think. I love our conversations.
We probably don't want to listen to it for that long, though.
They're probably like, these two ever stop talking? But what we could probably do is, if you're open to it, maybe we could do a bit of a series and, have a Sam and Loza chat because, like I said, I love our conversations. We talk about such diverse things. It's really quite interesting and people will find you fascinating too because you've just got so much wisdom there.
Let's do that. That sounds wonderful.
Hey, thanks for taking over our podcast today.
Thank you for the opportunity to take over. I do like the leadership role occasionally, taking control, but very happy to hand it over to. So thank you very much. I've learned a lot and I hope everybody else has as well. And I'm looking forward to listening to more of the Sisterhood Collective podcasts and learning more from you in the future. Thanks, Loz. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on the Sisterhood Collective podcast. Remember to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if you want to be the first to hear what is new at Sisterhood Collective, you can find out more on our Instagram, or you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter and let the good times continue to roll. Now it's time to turn your clear vision into bold action. I'm Laurie Drummond, your host, and until next time, keep striving to live that best life. Take care.